Welcome back, guys. So with the exams coming up soon, I've decided to make another pseudocode video, and probably I'll title this something like 15 mark or 15 mark style question. And the reason I say 15 mark style is because in reality this question would never come up in the exam. All right, there's going to be too much here. Yeah, this would take too long, it's too difficult. However, this will cover a lot of the common, the common things they ask. So for example, we can just see quickly, basically we want to create the 4 in a row game, which I think most people are probably familiar with. Basically you have a kind of grid and you can sort of drop the, drop the piece in a specific column. And if you get 4 of your color in a row, right, either horizontal, vertical or diagonal, then you win the game. Right, so let's just look at the requirements. We want to use functions procedures where appropriate. We then want to check the following win directions, right, horizontal, vertical and both diagonals. We want to output a draw if appropriate, and yeah, you want to think, well, how would you detect if it's a draw? Right, there's going to be 2 players and we want the players to enter their name. I guess we can also validate that they do actually enter something, so we can do a presence check there, alright, just checking they didn't enter kind of like an empty value. Right, then we're also going to allow the board size, rows and columns to be specified and validated, and that should be a range check from 4 to 10. Of course, we have to say at least 4, because otherwise if we have, let's say, a 3x3 grid, well, then they're not going to be able to get 4 in a row. Right, then I guess, yeah, we say black is empty. Right, we can use, I guess, the red and yellow circles to represent player 1 and player 2, right, their pieces. We're then going to output the board after each move. We're going to keep track of the number of wins for each player. We'll then output this at the end of each game. So for example, saying player 1, has won 2 games, player 2 has won, 1 game, for example. Right, then we'll give the user the option to play another game or quit. So basically we can have a loop and just say, right, do you want to play another game, right, Y or N, and basically while they sort of keep pressing Y, then we'll just continue letting them play. Alright, and however when they quit, then the overall winner, overall winner should be output, right, or if it's a tie, then it will say what both players won, like 1 game each. Right, and also the loser should go first on the next game. Okay, so let's just sort of see this running, just to kind of know what we're trying to create. So let's go enter name player 1, let's just say A, right, player 2 can be B, let's say maybe 6 by 8, and let's try, for example, 15. Alright, this should, so if we try something out of the range, then it will ask us again. Alright, now let's try 8. Right, then it's going to say, well, which column would you like to choose for player A? So let's just go 4, and let's actually make some bad moves, right, just so we can finish this quickly. Let's go like 4, 5, 4, 5. Alright, and on this one, then A should win. So it says congrats A1, right, score is A1, alright, and B0. And here, let's just go no, we wouldn't like to play again. And then, it says N is the champion, because I guess what they won 1, whereas B only won 0. Alright, so yeah, guys, hopefully everyone understands what it is we want to make. Now, I would say pause the video, maybe have sort of 5 minutes, if you want. Just try and, think about how you would actually implement this. And then if you've had to think about it, well, then let's kind of resume the video and let's try and create it. And I would also suggest probably coding along as well. Don't just watch the video, okay, try and code along. Try and, attempt it yourself first as well. Okay, so first let's just create some variables. So I guess probably we're going to want what player 1 name, player 2 name. Now I'm actually going to use an array for this, and the reason that is because after each player's move, if we just have an array, then we can just update the index. So we can have an index, let's say, current player. Now current player can start at 1. Then when we want to output the name, well, we would just go output player names and then add the index of current index. Likewise, when we want to sort of update the winning scores. So for example here, player A, they've won 1 game. Now if, let's say, player index 1 also wins the next game, well, then we could also update that kind of player, I guess like player index, or player wins kind of array. And we can probably also use an array for the pieces as well. Again, the advantage of using array, well, one, it's more flexible. If, let's say, we wanted to make this a 4-player game, well, we could, easily do that. Also, it means that we don't actually have to have an if statement, where, for example, at the end of each move, we would then have to kind of set the new name to be player 2's name. We would have to set the new piece to be player 2's piece. We would have to update the score to be player 2, if they won. Whereas if we just use an index, well, then we only have to change that one index, and then I guess we can just access the correct person, yeah, in each of the respective arrays. All right, so hopefully that makes sense. Let's just go and do this then. So let's go player names. All right, and that's going to be an array, and yeah, make sure you get the syntax right for arrays. Right, that's going to be of string. Now, if you're doing IG, I've actually never seen a question where you have to declare an array. If you're doing AS, then yeah, it's possible they could ask it. All right, so make sure you just have, well, of course, as always, yeah, declare, right, the identifier name. Right, then you want the array keyword, all right, then you want the dimensions. Now, here we only need a one-dimensional array, just rows, of course, 2 players. Right, so the starting index is 1, the end index is 2, right, and the names, that's going to be of type string. Now, actually, I'm just going to copy that a couple of times, and let's say here, let's go maybe player piece, all right, and I think here we can just go char, and when I say piece, I just mean this red and yellow. All right, so I'm just going to copy that because I probably will just assign these here. So let's go player piece, and let's say 1, all right, and let's just assign that red one. Then let's just copy that player piece, let's go 2, and right here then we'll just paste that yellow one. Okay, and then I guess the last one, let's go maybe player wins. Again, that's going to be of integer. Right, now possibly we might need some more arrays, that's what I can think of at the moment, and of course if we do need any more, well then we can go back. Now if you're doing IG, of course the 15 marker you don't have to declare. If you're doing AS, well then you will have to declare. And in fact, actually, let me just see what syntax. Okay, so I've put it on the A-level syntax, although actually for this question we shouldn't need any syntax that's, you know, different between each syllabus. Yeah, so this should just be kind of basic. Yeah, we're not really using many of the inbuilt functions. Okay, so yeah, I think that's probably enough. Let's think about what variables we would need. So one, I think we've mentioned we would need a current player. So yeah, let's go current player, and that's going to be an integer. Okay, just storing what, you know, player 1, player 2. Right, I guess then, yeah, okay, so I think that's probably what we need at the moment. I guess we can also probably have the player row. So yeah, right, okay, so the player column that they chose, yeah, where they choose to drop their piece. So let's go player column, and yeah, I think I'm going to leave it at that for the moment, and kind of just declare variables, yeah, as we need them, or as we're writing the program. Right, so the first thing we want to do, let's say here we can ask them to enter their name. Right, so because here we've got an array, well then let's just loop through this, and if we're looping through an array, well let's just go index. Yeah, just declare that. So let's go for index, and here then we're going to start that at 1, and then we'll just say 2 because, well, of course we've got 2 players. Right, let's go output, and I think what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to have a loop which is going to basically keep asking them to input until they actually kind of input something. So if they enter nothing, well then it will just ask them again. So let's just say that, let's say player, and then basically we just want the number. So right, yeah, player index, so this will say player 1. Well, let's say please enter your name. Right, then let's just input that. Yeah, if I can type it. Alright, and here then we're going to input that into right, okay, player names, and the index is going to be this index. Right, then we can have a while loop, so we'll just say while player names index is empty. Okay, yeah, index, right, let's go is empty. Right, then we're going to have do, and actually I'm just going to copy this because it's basically going to be the same. And let's just fix the indentation. Now actually maybe this is a feature that people are not aware of. So in fact, let me just go next index here. Alright, because I know a lot of people mess up the indentation. Now you should be able to go, I think it's this one, yeah, okay, this auto format, right, or pretty print. And if we click that, alright, then you see that does kind of fix the indentation for us. Here that has actually messed up some of the spacing. So yeah, I'm just going to add that back in. And in fact, actually, let me just turn that off. Okay, there we go. Right, and I think I'm just going to change the message. Let's say, I don't know, yeah, can have an empty name or something. Can have an empty name. Let's go maybe input again. Yeah, let's go enter again. Okay, yeah, that should be fine. And I guess we don't need name. Right, okay, so for the player names, that should be fine. Right, then I guess we want to allow them to specify the board, well, yeah, the board dimensions, right, rows and columns. Okay, so I guess that they're going to be two more variables we need. Let's go, I guess, what, board rows, or yeah, board size. Let's go board columns. And I suppose, yeah, here actually calling it rows and columns is kind of required. Obviously, if it was a square board, we could just call it board size. But yeah, since the rows and columns can be different, right, then we're going to need separate variables. Now, I think in the real 4 in a row, I don't think it's a square grid. I think maybe it's like 6 by 8 or yeah, something like that. But yeah, I think it's rectangular. All right, okay, yeah, okay, so I don't think it's square. Right, so again, let's just have another loop then. All right, and actually, I guess let's have an output and then we'll just have a loop, kind of like we did with this. All right, and for this one, maybe let's use a repeat until just to demonstrate how to do that. Okay, so yeah, of course, there are multiple ways to do validation. So let's go repeat until. All right, and I'm just going to add the condition first. So the condition is going to be not player. It's going to be, let's go board rows. Right, so this should be greater than or equal to 4. Then we want to go and this would be what board rows is less than or equal to 10. Right, and here we just want to have an output statement. So let's go on and yeah, enter. Let's go enter number of rows. Okay, so maybe not the best message. Right then, again, it's not player. It's going to be the right board rows. Right now, if we actually want an error message, then we could just have an if statement. Now, this is not really ideal using a repeat until loop like this, because then we're kind of repeating this condition twice. Obviously, once we need it right here in this until, but then we're kind of going to have the opposite condition here. Right, so because if we think, right, okay, yeah, so until is going to do something until this is true. All right, whereas I guess here we want to kind of have an if statement that's checking if it's invalid. So let's say what if board rows is less than 4, yeah, or if board rows is what greater than 10. Let's go on the output. Let's say what invalid, I know your invalid number of rows. Yeah, and I guess we could say what I know should be, yeah, between should be between 4 and 10, something like that. Yeah, okay, so I think that's going to be fine. All right, now I'm just going to copy this. Although again, probably I would use a while loop if we're talking about validation. Yeah, just because you can kind of have the output before the while loop. Then you're only going to go in the while loop. Yeah, if the sort of condition is invalid. All right, like we could, okay, so like we can see here. Right, so let's just change this to columns quickly. Right, then that's going to be board columns. Okay, so I think that should be fine. Now, actually, I'm just going to test this just to see if it works. So here, let's just go an empty name. Right, yeah, can't have an empty name, enter again. Let's go A. Right, player 2, enter your name. Let's say B. Let's say, for example, 0. Okay, yeah, it's going to say invalid, try again. Let's go 4. Yeah, that should be accepted. Right, let's go 11. All right, so here we're checking 1 that's too small, 1 that's too big. And here, let's go 10. All right, let's have an extreme value. And yeah, okay, so we see that's kind of working. All right, so I think often with these, it is good to check the boundary. Right, so of course we'll check 1 that's, you know, just too small. Right, check 1 that's just okay. I guess then also check the upper bound, or yeah, the upper boundary. So check 1 that's, you know, sort of 1 too big, and then yeah, of course check 1 that's also the limit. All right, in this case that's going to be 10. Okay, so I think that should be fine. All right, then I guess what we want to do, we actually want to create an array representing the grid. All right, so basically the rows, well, the number of rows is just going to be this board rows. Of course, right, the number of columns is going to be this. So let's go declare, and I guess let's just call that grid. Right, so here is going to be a 2D array. Right, so the number of rows, well, that's going to be, yeah, board rows, and right, the columns, right, that's going to be board columns. Right, now let's think here, because we're saying that the player piece is going to be a character, then I think here let's also just store this as characters. Now you could also store it as integers, so you could say, let's say if it's 0, then it means no player has been there. Right, obviously if it's 1, player 1 is there. If it's 2, right, player 2 is there. However, I think here we can probably just go sort of char directly. yeah, then we don't have to worry about converting the sort of integer player number, right, to the actual piece. Yeah, we can just output directly. Now, I think what we might want next is, because we say that if it's a black circle, then it's empty. Now, the thing is, currently we've actually not assigned anything to this grid array. So I think probably we can create a reset procedure, which will just reset all of the cells back to the black circle. So let's just go ahead and do that. Let's go procedure and let's call it reset. And maybe we'll also want to reset some other things as well. Of course, this will be called at the start of each game. Right, so if we're looping through the columns, or yeah, well, the grid, right, the rows and columns, then we're going to want two variables. Let's go row and also let's go column, right, just for the for loop. Now, let's actually demonstrate how we would loop through this. Now, usually we would have row as being the outer loop, right, then columns being the inner loop. And the reason we do that, I guess basically it's because we kind of loop through kind of in like a left to right, top to bottom fashion, which is the same way that people, right, okay. So I guess not all languages, but it's the same way that people in many languages will read, again, from left to right, top to bottom. So what that's going to do, well, that's going to start here, of course, in 1 1, right? Then it's going to go to 1 2, right? Then it goes 1 3, obviously 1 4, right? Then, of course, when we get to the end, well, then it's going to go down here, right? So what, row 2, column 1, obviously, yeah, 2 2 2 3, all right, etc. So yeah, let's just go and try and implement this. Right, so let's go 4, and here we're going to go row. That's going to start at 1, and then we just want to go to the board rows. Right, then we want to loop through the columns. So the columns here is going to start at 1, and we're going to go to the board columns. Right, then we just want to assign to the grid. Now the index here, we always assign to rows first, or yeah, well, rows will be the first index. Right, and then columns, well, that's the second dimension. Yeah, the second index. Right, so here, basically we just want to copy this black circle. Okay, and then I'm just going to go next column, and yeah, let's go next row. Okay, so I think that's probably all we need to reset. If we make some other variables later, then I guess we can actually add those. Add those in this reset procedure. Okay, so let's just call this. Let's go call reset. And to be honest, actually, what I might do is, so I might create the. So I was going to say maybe I'll create the main game loop, where it's going to be, I guess, this one, where basically we're just going to repeat, i.e. like reset, play game, and then once they finish the game, then we would just have an output. We would ask them to input, right, yes, no, whether they want to play again. Alright, I think I'll probably do that in a minute. For the moment, let's just call this reset just to check if it works. Now, currently, I guess there's actually no way of us actually seeing the output of this. So let's actually make another procedure, which is just going to be to draw the board. So let's go procedure. Let's go draw board. Alright, and again, this is actually going to have no parameters. Actually, this is going to be basically identical to this, so I'm just going to copy this reset code. Right, okay, and then I guess we're just going to need one more thing. So we're going to want to declare a line, and that's going to be a string. Now, let's just demonstrate how to do this. Now, the problem is, and in fact, let me just go back. Some people might think that we can just do something simply like this. Alright, where we go, output grid, then, okay, so obviously the row column. The problem, though, if we do that, is basically each of the pieces will be each of the pieces will be output on a new line. Whereas we want to output the entire row, all on one line. Right, so actually I'm not going to demonstrate, or, so I'm not going to demonstrate that because, we're going to have to type in all this stuff again. But yeah, hopefully people understand what I mean by that. Alright, so what we want to do, we actually want a string. So I've just called that line. And basically, we're going to start on the first one, so we're going to assign this first piece to the line. Right, then when we get to the next piece, right, we're then going to also assign that to the line. So we're going to concatenate them, right, join them together. Right, then obviously this one, again, we're going to concatenate, right, concatenate. When we get to the end, well, that's when we output, all right? So basically, once we've looped through all of the columns for that particular row, that's when we output. And then when we start a new row, well, then we would reset the line to be an empty string. Okay, so actually this is not too difficult. Basically, it's the same logic as if you're totaling. So if you're totaling, I guess also summing is totaling. I guess also counting. Then basically what you're doing is you're taking the current variable, you're then assigning what the current variable plus, I guess, yeah, plus, say the current index, or the sort of current element at that index, if you're looping through an array, to total, to sum it. Right, okay, so what we're going to do then, so line is going to go here, and we're just going to assign that to be an empty string. Right, then what we're going to do, so we're going to go line, and right then we're just going to use the concatenation operator. So yeah, let's go line, alright, and then yeah, concatenate. Alright, so this ampersand. Now actually, this is actually not in IG, this ampersand operator, so let's just explain quickly what it is. I think it's not too difficult to understand. Okay, let's say we have a string ABC, right, then if we go ampersand and let's go DEF, well what the concatenation operator, or yeah, the ampersand is going to do, it's just going to combine those two strings into a single string. Okay, so now it's just going to become what ABCDEF. So likewise, okay, what's going to happen is here we're going to start just with the first column. We're obviously going to assign that to the line. Right, then we're going to loop through, and then it's going to be the line. That's the first column, right, and the second column. All right, so now line's going to have obviously two of the pieces, right? Then obviously it's going to go right the third piece and the fourth piece. Right, and then here is where we just want to output. So let's go output line, and I think that should work. So let's go let's go draw board, and yeah, I think that should be okay. So let's test it. Right, let's just input this quickly. Yeah, okay, right. So here we just get a nice 4x4 grid. Right, so what I think we can do now is we can probably create the main game loop. So let's go repeat, and yeah, this is going to be until. Right, now I'm just going to have them output, sort of, do you want to play again? Because otherwise this will just repeat infinitely. Yeah, if we don't actually sort of, kind of update the condition. So let's go output. Yeah, would you like to play again? And let's say, yeah, kind of yes or no. Now I guess here we'll also need a variable for this. So let's go declare, and I don't know, let's say like play again. Right, and that can be a character, or yeah, char. Right, and here let's just have them input that. So let's go input play again, and right, we want to loop until, and I think actually we can probably just convert the case. So I'm going to say L case. Now, right, okay, so if you're in IG, then L case will work for both strings and chars. Now, if you're in AS, well, there's L case, which is for chars, right, then 2 lower, which is for strings. Although, to be honest, if you're in AS, right, they do give you the function list. Whereas I guess, yeah, if you're in IG, I think because there's only maybe 6, 7, or possibly 8 functions, then I guess they don't give you the list because they kind of assume that you can remember them. Right, okay, so here then we want to loop until, well, I guess until that's equal to n. Okay, yeah, that should be okay. Now, the thing is with that actually is that if they enter, for example, A, then, that's also going to continue looping. Alright, so I guess we could actually also have this inside a loop. Let's go repeat. Yeah, let's go repeat until here. Just kind of making sure they do enter either y or n. So let's go until, and in fact what I might actually do is let's just go play again, and we'll just use L case here. Yeah, rather than having to use L case over and over again. Right, so because we've already converted the case, well then we don't have to also convert the case there. So let's go until play again equals, and that's going to be y. Right, okay, yeah, let's go or, and let's go play again, and that's going to be equal to n. Alright, so basically just kind of asking them, yeah, to keep inputting, alright, until they enter a valid option. Right, okay, that should be fine. Okay, so I think now that's kind of all the setup. Basically what we can do now then is we can actually start implementing the game logic. Okay, so yeah, we've got this current player. Now, I think what I'm going to do, I'm just going to start the current player at 1 here. Okay, now let's actually think how we can detect if they win. And also let's think about how we actually drop these pieces. Alright, because we kind of need a linear search, or at least a variation on linear search, to calculate where the actual piece should go. So let's say, for example, if currently they've entered, where is the thing? Okay, here we go. Okay, so currently let's say someone is in this position and someone else has also dropped a piece in this position. Well, then when the next person also drops here in column 2, well then of course, okay, so when they also drop in column 2, well then of course it's going to go here as well. So you could kind of start looping from the top, and you might think, well, first you check here in what row 1, obviously column 2, right, and you check if that's empty, right, then you sort of go down to the next one, right, then you check here what that's going to be, what row 2, column 2, again, is empty, go to the next one. The problem with that, though, is now you've actually gone down to this one. Now, I guess you could do it where you take the position you found, right, then you -1 in order to sort of go back to the sort of empty position. In reality, I think an easier way to do it is actually if you start looping from the bottom. So here, if we think the bottom, well, this is going to be what the board rows, right, BR. So in this case, well, that's going to be 4. All right, so here we're starting looping from 4. And basically, we're just going to keep looping while it's not equal to the black, the black circle. So because here this is not a black circle, well, then we're going to decrement the index, right? Then we're going to loop here. All right, because this is also not the black circle, right? Then again, of course, we decrement. Right, then we get into this position, so what's going to be row 2, and of course, yeah, this is going to be where we insert that. We would, of course, also need another condition where if, for example, it gets to 0, well, then, of course, 0 means that, that's, out of the board. Therefore, we would have to output that this current column is full, and yeah, they can't, put their piece there. Okay, so yeah, I think let's try and get that working where they can actually drop the piece right in the correct cell. Right, okay, so I think I'm just going to have it here. Let's go output. And yeah, okay, so we might want to validate this. Yeah, okay, so I think probably let's maybe make a Boolean. And let's call this valid. So let's go maybe like valid move. Alright, and I think maybe actually let's just declare it. Declare it with all the others up here. Just to keep it organized. Right, okay, so I guess kind of like what we do with, right, okay, so like what we do with bubble sort, let's assume that this is valid by default. So let's go valid move and, right, let's go true. And in fact, yeah, that's not recognized, so let me just hopefully update that. And then, yeah, okay, alright, so now we see it's actually recognized that I've typed that. Right, okay, so yeah, what we can then do is, I guess we want to try and find the current position, or well, kind of ask them to enter a position. So right, actually here we don't need to ask them to enter the row. Okay, we only need to ask them to enter the column. Whereas of course, if we're playing say noughts and crosses, right, or yeah, tic-tac-toe, well then we want both the row and column. Right, so I think let's also kind of have the player name, so we'll personalize this a little bit. So this will be player names. The index will be the current player. Let's say, I don't know, yeah, choose a column. Alright, and I think actually maybe I'm also going to output the current color, just so it makes it easier, right, kind of who is going. So let's maybe go here, we'll go, right, okay, player piece. Right, okay, that's going to be the current player. Right, then let's just have a space, and yeah, then we'll have the player name like that. Okay, yeah, I think choose a column, right, that's fine. Then let's go input. Okay, right, so here then we want to go, yeah, did we actually make this variable? No, I think we haven't made this variable. Oh yeah, right, okay, so I guess this one, right, the player column. Right, okay, so here then we want to input the player column. And let's just put this inside a loop, so let's go repeat until. Right, okay, and here what we want to repeat until, well, valid move equals true. So of course, if they enter a valid move, well, I mean, here it's true, right, here it's also true. Yeah, okay, and actually, I think let's put this valid move inside here, because the problem is, otherwise, if we set it to false inside here, well, then it's always going to stay false. So what we want to do, we actually want to reset it to true, yeah, each time we enter the, right, okay, so we want to reset it to true each time we ask them to enter a column. Right, so now let's try and find the position, and I guess we can, yeah, probably have another one here, another variable. Alright, so you could call this player row, because I guess it is kind of, yeah, where the player is, well, kind of the row that their, that their piece is going to go. So I think, yeah, let's call it player row. Alright, because, yeah, okay, so even though they're not inputting this, I think if we call it, right, player column, player row, it just makes it obvious, yeah, that they're both kind of related. Yeah, I guess you could call it like piece, right, piece column, piece row. Right, okay, so let's maybe start that. We want to go player row, and right, we said, well, that's going to start as being the board row. Right, and what we're going to say is we're going to say while the current position is not equal to the black circle. So, right, while grid and the current position, what that's going to be the player row. Right, the index is, the column is, well, of course, the player column. Right, okay, so while this is not equal to the black circle, right, then what we want to do, we just want to decrement the player row. But the thing is, we also want another condition, and that should be that the player row is what greater than or equal to 1. Because otherwise, if it gets to 0, well, then it's going to try to read from index 0. Or it's going to try and access index 0. Right, so let's have an and we want to say player row is what, I guess, well, greater than or equal to 1. Right, okay, and then I think here we can then just decrement that. Okay, yeah, let's go -1. Alright, so I think that should be okay, and then I think here let's just have an if statement where we can check what if the current position is black. Right, then it's valid. I guess if it's not black, then it's not valid. Alright, because we could have got to the situation here where, let's say, if all 4 of these are taken, well, the player row is still 1, but of course that's actually not empty. Alright, so let's just test that here. Let's go if, and right here is going to be what, grid, right, player row, right, the column, of course, player column. Right, so if it's not equal to the black circle, right, then we can just output a warning message. Let's go output, and right here then it's going to be column full. And let's actually say the number, so column, right, player column, right, is full. Yeah, I guess that's okay. We could say, I don't know, yeah, can't place a piece there or something. Right, and here then we're just going to set the valid move to be false. Right, okay, so let's think of some other kind of invalid moves. Okay, so I guess, yeah, 1 is if it's full. Right, okay, so I guess another invalid move is if they choose a column that's what, less than 1, right, or greater than the board size. Okay, and I guess actually we have to do that before here. Otherwise, for example, if they enter -1, well, then it's going to try to access -1 here. So yeah, okay, let's also do that here. Let's go if, and I think I'm going to check the valid condition. So let's say if player column, well, that should be, well, greater than or equal to 1. Right, then we want to say and okay, player column, that should be less than or equal to the, I guess, the board column. Okay, right, so here is where we can actually try to search for the valid, valid row. Right, let's have an else, and let's just delete some of these new lines. Right, okay, so else, well, this is if it's invalid, so let's get output. Let's say player column, is not right on the board. And I'm actually just going to have a sort of message telling them the board dimensions again. So let's say 1, 2, and that's going to be the board columns. And let's just have the closing bracket like that. Right, and again, let's go valid move, and right, that's going to be false. Okay, so I think that should be okay. Right then, what I'm going to do is let's just have okay, so let's then just actually place the position, or place the piece in that position. Right, so the way we're going to do that is going to be grid, and this will be the player row, right, then player column, and right then we're going to place, and that's going to be the player pieces. Okay, and this will be the current player. Okay, now currently this is going to be a bit annoying because it's going to ask, would you like to play again? Alright, so what I might actually do is I might actually just have another loop just to check if the game is not over. Okay, so let's maybe make another variable. Right, that can also be a boolean. Let's say game over. Alright, so if we go game over, Now, I guess when we reset, we also have to reset the game over to be false. So let's go here, right, game over, and yeah, that's going to be false. Right, so I think what we want to do, basically we just want to keep asking them to make moves, right, until it's game over. And we'll actually create a function in a minute which will calculate if it's the game over. So for example, calculating, yeah, if all of the cells are full, yeah, or if someone has got 4 in a row. So I think, again, I'm just going to go repeat until. Right, okay, so we want to just do all of that, right, until. And yeah, okay, alright, so what I'm gonna do, actually, okay, yeah, okay, so, right, let's just go game over. Let's say maybe, I don't know, yeah, has winner or something. Alright, now, of course, yeah, we'll create this in a minute. Let's get until game over, and I guess what, yeah, until game over equals true. Right now, I'm just gonna create this test function. And I guess if you're doing AS, and when they talk about different types of testing, I mean, this here is actually kind of stub testing, where I'm actually just going to create this has winner, and I'm just going to make it return false. So I'm not actually so I'm not implementing the full functionality. Okay, yeah, so returns boolean. All right, I'm just going to return kind of like a dummy value, just so we can get the program to behave as kind of as we want it. Right, yeah, let's go end function, and hopefully this should keep asking them to input. Alright, so let's just run this. Let's go A, again, let's go B. I don't know, let's go maybe 6 and 8. Right, okay, so let's choose a column. Let's say column 3. Okay, so nothing happened there. Okay, right, so what happened? Right, okay, so it seems like valid move should be true because we didn't get any error message. So let's think about this, right, so while player row, player column is not equal to that. Okay, so I'm probably just going to have some output statements here. Yeah, just to see what's going on. Alright, so let's just say here, I don't know, okay, yeah, so like here 1, let's go output, right, I don't know, here 2. Alright, and what I'm going to do, I'm also just going to output the player row. Yeah, alright, so let's just go row, just so we can actually see what this is, kind of what value it has. And let's also go the column as well. Yeah, and I guess also let's just output the valid move. And then yeah, right, okay, hang on. Actually, so I think this probably is working. The problem is that we're not calling this draw board. So right, let's call this draw board, and we'll just do this on the start of every move. And then hopefully I don't need all of these outputs. Yeah, okay, alright, so I think that might be okay. I mean, we could also have the draw board at the end as well. Yeah, let's maybe do it at the end instead. Okay, so yeah, let's just do it there. Right, let's try again, and hopefully this time it'll work. Let's go 6, 8, let's go 3, and yeah, okay, that seems to work. Alright, so let's try 3 again. Yeah, okay, now we get 2, let's go 3, alright, 3. And then hopefully when we get to the end, okay, right, index 0 out of bounds. Right, okay, so I thought that would work. Right, so if player column 1 is greater than 1, right, and is less than board columns. Right, okay, so I think the problem is, and this is kind of a, well, sort of slightly weird error. The problem is, okay, right, so here it's going to go down to -1. No, okay, sorry. Okay, so here it can be 1, right, then it will go down to 0. Now the thing is, because this is on the left-hand side of the AND, well, then it's going to check this one first. So here it's actually going to check, well, player column will be 0. And I guess, yeah, that's going to fail. So because it's checking this left-hand side of the AND first, well, that's going to be 0. Whereas I think actually if we did this, and I think there's actually two ways we can fix this. Right, and yeah, this is a bit of a kind of obscure error. Right, okay, so here then if we go, yeah, okay, so it should be greater than or equal to 1. Okay, because if this is 0, well, then it's not even going to check the and that's just the way that most programming languages work. All right, so if you have an and statement, it's going to check the left-hand side. If the left-hand side is false, well, obviously, yeah, false and, well, anything is always going to be false, right? Therefore, it's not even going to check the second side, or yeah, the the kind of right-hand side. Okay, so I think that's going to be one way we could get it to work. I guess another way we could, yeah, okay, yeah. All right, so I think that's really the way we have to do it. Right, okay, let's try again. So let's go, I don't know, let's go 4 and 4, right, just to make it quicker. Right, so here let's go column 2. All right, and then, okay, yeah, that's fine. And then here we go. Right, so here we also get the same problem. Okay, so I think probably just a simple way to fix that, yeah, rather than, you know, messing around with it too much, let's just go player row. And I guess we can check what if this is less than 1. Alright, so if it's less than 1, well then I guess it's gone to 0. We can of course set the valid move to false. Yeah, and then it should just ask us to enter again. Alright, so let's try again, and hopefully, what is that, third time lucky now, I think. Right, let's go 4, 4, and right, let's go 2. Yeah, okay, right, column is full, and then I was going to say choose a column, let's go 3. Alright, and yeah, I guess we can just, you know, continue doing that. Alright, so I'm going to stop that. Now, what we probably also want to check is we want to check if it's full. And I guess we also want to kind of alternate the moves, right? So obviously player 1, then player 2. Now, the way we can alternate the moves, basically we can just have an if statement after each move. So let's go here and we'll go, what if, is it current player? So if current player equals 1, well then we'll set current player to be 2. Okay, yeah, okay, current player 2. Right, else, and then we'll just go what current player is 1. Yeah, okay, so hopefully that makes sense, right, just alternating them. Right, okay, now the way we can actually check if it's full, probably the easiest way, because, yeah, right, okay, so we could do it just by looping, so we just loop through again rows and columns, and if we see a black cell, well then we can return false, because well that means it's, you know, not, yeah, it's not full. Right, I guess if we don't see a black cell, right, then I guess, well, that means, of course, it is full. And actually thinking about it, we would actually only have to check this first row. Yeah, since we're dropping, sort of dropping them in top to bottom. So yeah, that would actually be quite easy, I guess, just a simple for loop, yeah, over that first row. Right, I think what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually just going to have a counter. And the counter will just be the size, so what here 4x4, right, i.e. 16, and each time they enter a valid piece, or yeah, a valid move, well then the counter will just decrement, and we can just basically keep playing until the counter is equal to 0. Yeah, okay, so let's just make that, we can just call it, I don't know, sort of like cells remaining or something. Let's go, yeah, cells remaining. Okay, and then I think in the reset, because at this point we've actually calculated the rows and column size. So here, what the cells remaining, well, that's going to be the board rows, then multiplied by the board columns. Right, and then what we want to do is, let's go, yeah, where is it going to be? Right, okay, so I guess here after they enter a valid move, well, then we just want to go, what was it called? Yeah, cells remaining. Right, so that's going to be cells remaining -1. And here I guess we can, well, loop until game over equals true. Yeah, let's go or, and that's going to be, well, say cells remaining equals 0. Right, and the reason I've got this game over as a boolean is because maybe we also want to have some logic here, right? Maybe we can have an if statement, maybe we can have some output message. I guess otherwise we could also just do something like this, right? So until has winner equals true. Yeah, then we wouldn't need the boolean. Right, but I think I'm going to keep it just like that. Right, okay, so yeah, I think this should work, and I'm just going to test it. Now, of course, you can fast forward through the next minute of this. Yeah, let's just try and enter them quickly. Let's go 4x4, of course, right, keep it quick. So let's go 1. Yeah, okay, right, okay, so now it's going to say player 2, so let's also go 1. Yeah, okay, that seems correct. Right, let's go 1. Yeah, okay, 1. Alright, let's just do all of these quickly. Yeah, hopefully without making a mistake. Alright, so when we enter this one, okay, this one should be fine. Yeah, okay, right, then it says, would you like to play again? And if we say yes, in fact, actually, let's say, for example, A, right, yeah, so here it's going to ask us again. Let's just say, well, Y, and I'm going to try capital Y. Right, okay, then it's going to say choose column. Now, let's see, has this reset properly? Right, okay, so let's choose a column, let's go 3. And yeah, okay, right, so this seems to have reset. Alright, let's stop that there. Okay, so that's sort of mostly okay. Okay, so I guess now all we really need to do is just implement this game logic, or yeah, you know, check in the winning, has winner logic. All right, I guess we could also have a message here for these cells remaining. So let's just go if, and let's see what if cells remaining equals 0. Right, then I guess we can say, well, I guess draw, because yeah, here is, right, okay, yeah. So actually, you could have a winner because they could win on the final move. So I guess here we want to check what if cells remaining equals 0. Let's go and. All right, and I guess, well, game over, or yeah, has winner equals false. All right, because of course we don't want to output a draw if someone has actually won on the last move. Yeah, I mean, let's say draw, right, board full. Yeah, that's kind of quite a simple message. Right, okay, yeah, that's fine. All right, so as for this has winner, now this is quite complex, and some people have asked, you know, would they ask you to do noughts and crosses, right, or I guess sort of 4 in a row in the exam? Now, I would say no, and the reason for this, I guess the actual horizontal and vertical are not too difficult, but diagonals are going to be quite tricky. So let's think how we can actually check for winners, yeah, in, I guess, for all of the directions. Okay, yeah, all right, so there we go. Right now, again, okay, horizontal is quite easy because if we think about horizontal, well, the row is going to stay constant. So let's say, for example, if they place a piece in this position, well, here they're placing it in row 2. So then what we can think, and actually, let's imagine we're playing on some like 10 by 10 board. We don't really want to search, you know, every single cell. All right, so I think what I'm going to do, let's just sort of draw in an extra couple here. Okay, so what we actually have to do is, what we think is that because they have to get 4 in a row, well, they can only possibly win, from, well, this position, and then I guess up to -3, right? Because I guess they could get a sort of 4 in, you know, well, yeah, these 4 here, all right? Or they could also get a 4, right, the maximum. Well, that's going to be from starting at this position, and then plussing 3 in this direction. All right, so I guess here we have, is that 8 in total? No, right, yeah, okay. So I think here we have 9 cells in total, right? But you see, we only have to check 7 of them, right? So we just take what the current column, and then kind of -3 as being the left index, and then obviously, yeah, +3, right? That being the maximum value we have to check. All right, so what we say that if we're checking the columns, right, the row is going to stay the same, right? But the column is just going to increment by 1. So of course, right, yeah, okay, so we can just have a loop, right, from the piece that they entered, or from the column they entered, starting at, I guess, well, from that -3, right, to, right, the column piece +3. And what we can do is basically we can check that if the current one is equal to their color, well, then we can have a running total. So I guess call it, I don't know, like consec, right? Then we can just do our consecutive +1, right? Let's say we see something that's a different color. Well, then we're going to reset the consecutive to 0. All right, and basically we're going to keep looping, well, either until we get to the end, because yeah, of course it's just a simple for loop, right, or until consecutive equals 4, right, and in that case, well, then they win. All right, so I think the logic for the vertical is also quite simple, where basically it's going to be the same, all right, where it's going to start at the row -3, it's going to end at what the sort of current row +3, and of course we do also need to check this, you know, within the board. So within the for loop, we would also have an if statement. Yeah, okay, now I guess you could be a bit more clever about this, but I think we'll just do it simple, or yeah, simply, where we can just have an if statement inside the for loop, and we say, what if the current row is greater than or equal to 1 and less than or equal to the board rows, yeah, and the current column is greater than or equal to 1 and less than or equal to the board columns. Well, then of course we can check, Yeah, otherwise we just ignore that particular cell, all right, because that particular cell wouldn't be on the board. Right, okay, so I think again that's quite simple for the vertical, because all that's happening is the column is staying constant. So let's say in this case, well, it's column 2, right? But of course, yeah, the rows are going to be the things that are changing. Right, now if we think about the, so if we think about the diagonals, now there's going to be 2, all right? So either we have the diagonal, let's say sort of, I don't know, top to bottom this way, right? I guess we can also have the diagonal going this way as well. Now if we think about this, well here this is going to be 1, 1, right? This is going to be 4, 4. So this one is actually the easier one because both of them are just going to increment. So the row is going to increment and the column is going to increment. So of course it's going to check 1, 1, right then 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4. Now if we think about this one, well here the column, so the row is starting at 4, right, the column is starting at 1, right, but then what happens is the column will increment, so the column will be 2, right, but the row will actually decrement to 3. Right, then I guess what the row is going to decrement to 2 and the column will increment to 3. And then what finally the row will decrement to 1 and the column will increment to 4. Okay, so probably this one is the hardest, right? Because well, one of them is incrementing, one of them is decrementing. But yeah, okay, let's try and actually implement this logic. And again, like this is too difficult for the exam. But yeah, I think it's still good practice. Just practicing what 2D arrays. It's practicing what if statements, right? Selection. Okay, so I think inside here, let's think about what variables we need. Right, so again, well, we're going to need a row and column because, well, this is the current row, the current column they're on. I think we also said what we need a number of consecutive, let's call it, I don't know, like consec, that should be fine. Right, okay, is there anything else we need? So I think probably we'll also want an offset. So we could use the offset for the vertical and horizontal, but I think really we probably just want the offset just for the diagonal really. Alright, and I'll explain why maybe in a minute. Or in fact, so let's try and explain now. Alright, now if we have the horizontal and the horizontal and vertical, well, we can do that just with a simple for loop. The problem is that if we actually have the diagonal, well, then we have 2 values that are changing simultaneously. So to do that just with a for loop is not going to be as easy. What we can instead is have some offset, where let's say here they're going to start, so here's the pen. So here they're going to start at 1, 1, right, and let's say here the offset is just going to be 0. So yeah, we can do what sort of 1 plus 0. Well, that's going to be 1. All right, 1 plus 0 again, that's 1. Right. Then on the next iteration of the loop, well, the offset is going to plus 1. Okay. So now we're going to have the starting position, which is 1. Right. But then we plus 1, so we get 2. Right. Then again, obviously 1. Right. Plus 1, we get 2. All right. The next iteration of the loop, well, the offset is now going to become 2. Right. So then of course, well, 1 plus 2, 1 plus 2. Right. That's going to be the 3, 3. Kind of etc. And when we do, the diagonal, let's say in this direction, well, all that's going to happen is we say, I guess the columns is just going to be right minus the offset. So the rows, all right, the rows is going to be minus the offset, and then the columns here, that's going to be adding, we're just going to add the offset. All right, so hopefully that makes sense. Let's try and kind of do this. Right, now I think what we want to do is we want to just reset this consecutive to 0, and we will actually want to reset this for every single one that we check. Alright, so when I say every one that we check, I mean when we check the horizontal, right, we reset it. Right, then when we go on to check the vertical, right, we also have to reset it. Because we might have a situation where, let's say we check the horizontal first. Now maybe this ends with 2 consecutive of their current color. Well, then what that would mean is the consecutive would still be 2. And if they get 2 in a row, let's say starting on the first of the vertical, well, then it's going to think there's 4 in a row. But actually that was invalid because there was 2 in a row kind of ending the horizontal run. And then obviously only 2 in a row starting the vertical run. They didn't actually get 4 in a row, on the same line. So hopefully that makes sense. Right, so let's try and do this quickly. A lot of this is just going to be repeated code, right, for horizontal, vertical, diagonal. Right, so let's say row, and right, that's going to start In fact, actually, we will. No, okay, yes. So that's a global variable, the player row. Right, okay. So this is going to start at the player row and then -1. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So -3. Right, and if we're looping through the rows, right, this is checking the. Right. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So this is checking the vertical. So let's just write this as a comment. Right. Check vertical winner. Right, okay, then we're going to go to, and that's going to be the, the player row +3. Right, then I guess now we just want to check if it's an actual valid move. I guess here we actually don't need to check the column is valid because actually we've already validated that. Yeah, I guess sort of up here somewhere. Right, okay, so what we want to check then is we want to say if the player row is greater than or equal to 1. Yeah. Okay, yeah, and the player row is less than or equal to the to the board row. Right, okay, then we can check. Alright, so do we need another if statement here? Like maybe we can do this all in one if statement. No, okay. Alright, so I was thinking, can we also check? Yeah, okay, alright. So actually I think we can do this all just in one if statement. Alright, so here we can then also just check if the place, or yeah, if the piece, right, is the current player's piece. So here we're checking grid, right, so the row, well that's the, okay, no. Alright, so the row, well that's this, yeah, for loop variable that we're looping through. Right, and then the column, well that's going to be the player column. Alright, so if this is equal to, and then we're checking if it's equal to the current player's piece. So that's going to be the player piece, right, the current player. Right, then if it is, well, then we just want to get the consec and we're just going to increment that. Alright, and here's where we can check if it's equal to 4. So let's go if consec equals 4. Right, then I guess we can just output a message. Yeah, okay, alright, so actually I guess here we could just, okay, yeah. So I'm not going to output here because we can actually just output sort of after this. Yeah, okay, so let's do that here. Let's go if game over, and I'm just going to output this message first. Alright, so if game over equals true. Right, then what we can do, yeah, okay, so I think, hang on. Alright, and I guess we do need to check if the game over is before we increment this player, or yeah, before we, sort of swap the player. Because otherwise, let's say player 1 has gone. Well, now it's going to be checking player 2's piece. And of course it would say, player 2 won. So yeah, I think we want to swap the pieces at the end. Alright, so let's just go and do that there. Right, okay, so if game over, let's go, I don't know, let's say like congrats. Right, then let's say the player name, and that's what the current player, I don't know, let's just say 1, for example. Right, and I think here we can also increment the score. So these scores, that's going to be, right, player wins. Right, again, that's going to be the current player. Right, that's going to be the player wins. Right, and then plus, okay, yeah, so just +1 like that. Okay, so maybe there's something else we have to do, alright, and I think I'll probably go and check the requirements in a minute. Let's just make sure we can get this has winner working first. Right, okay, so if consecutive equals 4, well then we can just return true. Yeah, let's end if. Right, let's also go next row. Alright, and I think actually we also want to check, okay, yeah, so hang on, right, if it's not a valid move, alright, or I guess if the current position is not the player's piece, right, then we want to reset the consec to 0. Because what this means is, let's say here currently we're player red, well if we've seen, red, red, yellow, well what currently the red would have a consecutive of 2, right, since we've seen red, red, right, but then we want to reset the consecutive back to 0. Because otherwise if we saw something like, I don't know, yeah, red, red, yellow, right, red, red, well if we never reset the consecutive back to 0, right, then of course we would get 4, because yeah, we've seen 4 reds. Alright, so yeah, again, like hopefully that makes sense. Alright, now I'm not going to do the the horizontal and diagonal for the moment. Let's just test this first one, right, just see if it's working. Right, so what we want to do is basically we would actually implement all 3 of these, right, vertical, horizontal, diagonals. I guess if any of them are valid, or yeah, if any of them have 4 in a row, then we would return true, right? This is kind of like linear search as well, where if we've got to the end and we've not returned, well, then we can assume it doesn't exist. So right then we're just going to return false like that. Yeah, because of course this means that no one's won, right? If we haven't found, you know, a winning condition. Yeah, okay, so right, maybe that's going to work. Let's just test this. Okay, right, that's because I've not used, and yeah, does the, yeah, okay, alright, so I think the error message here is actually quite good. Alright, so here it's because I forgot that this is actually an array. And yeah, let's try again. Right, okay, so let's go A, right, B, let's just go, I guess, 4, 4. Right, so let's try and choose something where they actually win, and we want this to be vertical. Okay, right, so why is it saying this? Okay, so I think the error that I've made here is that this shouldn't be player row, alright, this should be row. Yeah, this is similar to the mistake I made earlier. Alright, and yeah, this one is row, alright, that's correct. So hopefully this time it will work. Right, let's go 4, 4. Yeah, okay, that seems to work. Right, let's go 2. Alright, so I'm trying to get 4 vertical, so let's just go 1, 2, 1, 2. Alright, and then hopefully this time it should say winner. Yeah, okay, right, so congrats A1, would you like to play again? Alright, let's go no. Okay, alright, so what I would say is try and pause the video and now see if you can actually do the horizontal. Because the horizontal, it should just be basically copying and pasting this. Really then just changing the rows into columns. So let's try and do this. Let's go, well, col. Right, okay, let's just change that to col. Right, okay, then this one, of course, right, that's going to be the player column. Alright, that's going to be the board columns. Right, that one is... okay, right, hang on. Okay, yeah. Okay, so this one should be player row. Alright, because here we say that this player row is constant. And then the thing that's changing, right, that's going to be this column. Because if we're checking for horizontal, well, of course, yeah, we're checking what row 2, right, stays the same. And also, well, row 2, column 1, row 2, column 2, yeah, row 2, column 3, right, etc. Right, okay, yeah, is that going to work? Maybe. Alright, so let's test that. Yeah, and I guess we also do need to change that. Right, okay, let's go A, B. Yeah, and of course you can fast forward right through the testing, but I just don't want to, you know, finish the video and there's mistakes in the code. Right, okay, so let's go column, that can be 1, and right here we want horizontal, so let's also say 1, just so we don't block them. Right, let's, okay, yeah, okay, so I meant to press 2 there. Right, okay, so let's say 2, right, then we go 2, and hopefully here when we say 4, yeah, okay, congrats A1, alright, and let's go no. Right, now let's try the diagonals. And again, the diagonals are going to be a bit more complex. Right, okay, so I think what we've said, yeah, we've got this offset. Now, first we can check the kind of easier diagonal, where it's going to go, let's say, from the top left to the bottom right. So, right, what we're going to start, let's go offset. Right, now the offset is going to start at 0. Or in fact, actually, the offset, well, that can start at -3, I guess. Right, and then we'll go 2, and we'll just go, what, 2, positive 3. Right, then I guess we can actually calculate the row and column. So let's say the row, that's going to be, what, the player row. Right, the player row plus the offset. So let's say currently if they've selected row 4, well, then if we do, well, obviously 4, well, plus -3, right, then that's going to check in, obviously, row 1. Right, then we can just do the same for the column. So that's going to be, right, player column, right, plus offset. Right, okay, now here we will actually need to check both. So we want to check the columns are valid. Yeah, that's fine. And let me also just check the condition for the rows being valid. Alright, and the reason here that we need to check all of them is because if we think about, let's say for example this one, well here the player column was constant, and we've actually validated that this was a valid player column. Again, you know, back up, yeah, kind of up here somewhere. Yeah, I guess, for example here, right, so if it's not valid, well then of course we set the valid to false. Yeah, likewise here, of course, we're on the row. Yeah, we also check it's valid. All right, whereas because here both of them could be negative, right, or both of them could be greater than the size of the board. Of course, also 0, right? I mean 0 in pseudocode, since array start at 1. Right, so yeah, here we want to check both of those, right, and then here, rather than going player row, well, this is also going to be the variable row. Okay, so I think that should be okay, maybe. Right, and then consec +1. Yeah, okay, so maybe that's okay. All right, and let's just go next offset. Right, let's test this, see if it works. So let's just enter this again then, right, AB, let's go 4x4. Right, and okay, so let's choose column 1, right, then let's also column 1. Okay, and let's try and win, I guess, with this yellow piece. Right, so if we go 1, right, then here if we go 2, all right, and I guess we have to build this up just so we get, in fact, all right, so I'm going to go 3 here. Then if we go 2, and then if we go 2 again, right, just so we get those sort of, yeah, top, well, kind of diagonal left 2 with the yellow. Right, and then we want to choose a column, so let's just go 2 because otherwise we're going to block it. Right, then B, okay, so B can then be column 3. Right, then we get red, okay, let's go column 3. Right, then hopefully now if we go 4. Yeah, okay, all right, so here it says congrats B1, right, would you like to play again? Let's go no. All right, and then guys, I think probably just this final one. So I think all we actually need to do here, okay, so we said what the row is going to decrement. All right, so if we're looping, let's say from the bottom left to the top right, well, the column is going to increment still. All right, but the row is going to decrement. And I think now if we just try that, so let's go A, right, B, again, let's go 4x4. Right, so here then we want to go, let's go 1, and we'll try and win with the red. Here, let's say 2, right, here we can go 2. Let's go 3, right, let's go 4 here, and let's go, I guess, 2. No, okay, yeah, okay. All right, so I think I should have gone 2 then. Sorry, okay, yeah, okay, so I should have gone 3. Right, so this one we want to go 3. Right, then again, yeah, we also want to go 3. Right, okay, so let's say 4 here, and then hopefully on this one if we go 4. And yeah, okay, right, so congrats A1. All right, would you like to play again? All right, let's go no. All right, guys, so I think this is most of the kind of main stuff done. There's just a few other things about, you know, kind of outputting, right, who won most overall. Right, so use functions, procedures where appropriate, yeah, we've done that. Right, win directions, horizontal, vertical, both diagonals, right, done that. Output draw if appropriate, yeah, I think we did that. Okay, so we could test that again, although I think we have tested that once. So I think we can probably assume that's, yeah, still working. Right, yeah, allow the board size, rows and columns to be specified and validated, yeah, we did that. Right, okay, yeah, these pieces, we did that. Right, output board after each move, yeah, keep track of the wins for each player. Okay, so I think we've got that, right? So yeah, we've got the player wins, right, okay. Right, then we want to output this at the end of each game. Right, so let's maybe go here on this, yeah, on this one method. Right, let's say score. Let's say, I guess, okay, yeah, so let's have the player 1's name, right, then their score, then the player 2's score, then their name. So kind of like a football score. Yeah, so let's go, right, player names, right, let's go 1, and then let's just have a space, and right, then let's have the score, so the player wins, right, that's going to be 1, and then let's just have the hyphen like that, and here let's go, player wins, right, that's 2, again, let's have a space just to format it, right, player names, and that's going to be, yeah, 2. Okay, so I think that should work, unless I've made a mistake. Right, and then I think at the end it just wanted one more thing. Yeah, so give them options play again or quit, yeah. Right, and when they quit, the overall winner should, or draw should be output. Right, also this loser should go first on the next game. I think that we've actually handled already, because if we go here, right, let's say for example player 1 has won. Well, now we see the current player will go to 2. Right, likewise, of course, if player 2 has won, well, yeah, then of course, you know, it goes to player 1. Yeah, so I think that's going to handle automatically. Right, okay, so this here, this is where we've actually finished, right, where they've, yeah, chosen not to play again. So let's have an if statement, and we'll check what if the player wins, and what this is 1. Right, okay, so if the if this is greater than player 2's wins, Right then, let's just have a message. I don't know, let's go. Okay, yeah, let's see the player names. Right, that's going to be 1. Let's say it is the champion. Alright, and I guess you could also output the, yeah, okay, yeah. So you could also output like how many wins they had if you wanted. Yeah, how many wins, right, player 2 had. Right, now here I'm going to have an else, right, then we'll have a nested if. And the reason we're going to have a nested if is because if we just have an else, well, then we can't distinguish between if player 2 won, you know, or if it was a draw. Right, so in fact, actually, okay, yeah, okay, yeah, so let's keep that the same, and then we'll just change the sign. Right, so here it just says what player 2 is the champion. Right, then we just have an else, and I don't know, let's go, yeah, okay, so let's go draw, or you could, I don't know, you could say like overall draw or something. Alright, so I think that should be okay. Now, I'm just going to play this a couple of times, just to make sure everything's working. Yeah, of course you can fast forward through this. Right, let's try something else. Maybe let's go 6 by 8. Right, let's go, I don't know, 3. Let's try like 5 or 6. Right, let's say here we can go maybe 4. Let's say 7. Right, let's go 2. And let's go, yeah, 8. And then right here, let's go 1. Yeah, congrats A1. Right, why is the score 0? Right, okay, yeah, that's a really stupid thing I've done there. Okay, so it's because I'm outputting this before I increment the player wins. Alright, so you can see, right, there's actually been a lot of mistakes in this video. But yeah, I guess hopefully we should get there at the end. Right, okay, so, I don't know, yeah, let's go, I don't know, 6 by 8 again. Let's try 1. Yeah, okay, and let's go 4. Yeah, okay, A1, right, so score, right, A is 1, yeah, B is 0. Would you like to play again? I mean, yeah, let's go yes. Alright, and let's try with B winning this time. Yeah, okay, right, so if B won, let's go maybe for a vertical. Let's go 5, right, 4. Yeah, okay, B1, alright, 1-1. And, alright, let's try here, let's go no, and this should hopefully output draw. Yeah, okay, so just draw overall. Alright, and probably we don't need to test this. Yeah, I think we can probably assume this is working. Alright, anyway, guys, then, so hopefully this video is useful. Yeah, I mean, again, obviously, this is much more difficult than the exam, right? But we have actually covered a lot of the content. Obviously, yeah, 2D arrays, functions, procedures, right, if statements, loops, yeah, etc., input, output, validation. Yeah, I guess also linear search. Right, the only thing, let's say for IG, that we haven't done is going to be bubble sort. So I'd say, yeah, make sure you're also, you know, well, familiar with, confident with bubble sort. But yeah, I think otherwise this video covers most of the main things. Now, obviously, if you're doing AS, well, AS, they often have a lot of questions about strings. They also have a lot of questions about files. Yeah, so this video is more kind of relevant for IG, I guess. Yeah, although hopefully it's still useful. Alright, so as always then, if you've got any questions, ask in the comments and I will try to answer. Alright, so see you in the next video.